At number 10, Bohemian Grove. The only way you're getting to this super exclusive club is if you're a very powerful man. Bohemian Grove is a private club for the most powerful men in the US, located on a restricted 2,700-acre campground on Bohemian Ave in Monte Rio, California. Every July, its members travel to the grounds for a 2-week retreat to relax and specifically not network. There is little known about what happens during the retreat. One thing powerful men are good at is keeping things hidden. The club's all-male membership includes many artists, musicians, prominent business leaders, government officials, former presidents, and senior media executives. Members are also allowed to bring guests and even rent out the grounds for its off-season private events. If your interest has been sparked, good luck getting anywhere near Bohemian Grove. It's protected by security year-round, with the club employing ex-military personnel to secure the area. They also utilize high-end equipment like thermal cameras and vibration sensing alarm systems. Some presidents that have visited are George Bush, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Basically, there's no chance of getting in unless you have some pretty important friends. Number 9, the Coca-Cola Vault. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. The corporation was founded in 1892, so the recipe has been around for over 120 years. It definitely has undergone some tweaks since the 1800s, but now it doesn't contain illegal substances, so it really only changed for the better. The secret formula is located inside World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. While you can absolutely visit the museum itself, showcasing the history of the company, the actual vault that holds the formula is off limits. The actual recipe is located inside of a metal box inside of a 6.6-foot high vault, which is then further protected by a barrier, and the entire area has surveillance with armed guards. The door to the vault can only be opened by a keypad with a hand scanner. It sounds a bit extreme to take all these measures over the recipe for Coke, but with the company bringing in over $42 billion in 2022, the extra security makes total sense. I never thought about seeing the formula of Coke, but now that I know it's in a highly guarded fancy safe, I've never wanted to see something more. Number 8, Granite Mountain Records Vault. The world's largest collection of genealogical records lives in a secure vault located quite literally in the mountains near Salt Lake City, Utah. The Granite Mountain Records Vault was built in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of the vault is to preserve and protect records of importance to the church, like its vast collection of family history microfilms. This is an extremely secure facility with no public access allowed. What we do know is that it's home to 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing approximately 3.5 billion images of family history records. I guess when the Mormon Church says they're a family-centered faith, they aren't kidding. The church is collecting all of these microfilmed images in order to digitize them and turn them into digital records available through FamilySearch.org. Some people think there is more going on in that facility than we're being told, with conspiracy theories and suspicions surrounding the whole operation. The vault is located under 700 feet of solid mountain stone with 3 tunnels and 4 cross tunnels inside, spanning over 65,000 square feet. They also have reinforced entrance doors that weigh 14 tons each and were said to be able to withstand a nuclear blast. These factors are what really led people to being skeptical of their operations because A, that's a lot of room for converting microfilms, B, that's a lot of security for the names of the deceased, and C, more recent images of the vault seem to show they've expanded the facility to now have 5 entrances instead of 3. Some thoughts surrounding what else is stored there are significant artifacts, ancient relics, or even a bunker. Maybe the expansion is just for expanding operations, but who knows, maybe they really are hiding something else in that vault. At number 7, Area 51. The widely known name refers to that of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, which is highly prohibited to those without authorization. The fact that it's a government facility that is super off limits and highly guarded has led people to famously associate Area 51 with aliens. For decades now, the facility has been the eye of a conspiracy theory storm, with people convinced that aliens and their technology exist behind its walls. Being told you can't go somewhere or that something is a secret only makes you more interested to know about it. There have been many books, TV shows, and even plans online for massive raids trying to get a glimpse of what lies beyond the very prominent warning signs, to no success. Upon looking at Area 51, it appears like the only protection against unwanted guests is the many warning signs, but apparently not a single thing goes unnoticed. Beyond Beyond the gates, cameras see every angle, watching everything below. Locals say the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. No matter how interested you may be, only a select few have access to what goes on there, causing so many theories and speculations. Who knows, maybe it's alien experiments, maybe it's the most mundane, boring work we could ever imagine. Either way, we aren't going to be finding out anytime soon. Number 6. Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's located at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, or CMAF, within the Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The CMAF falls under Air Force Base Command and hosts the activities of several tenant units. At the height of the Cold War, the idea of a hardened command center was thought of as a defense against long-range Soviet bombers. The Army Corps of Engineers supervised the excavation of Cheyenne Mountain and the construction of an operational center. The facility became fully operational as the NORAD Combat Operations Center in early 1967. Since it's a big old place for government stuff, Cheyenne Mountain Complex is protected and closed to the public. It's located under 2,000 feet of granite with 6 tunnels, each 3 stories tall. It's also secured against seismic activity and nuclear explosions. So basically, it's pretty high on the list of places I would like to be during a zombie apocalypse. It has 2 main blast doors which are 3.5 feet thick and weigh over 20 tons. These massive doors close in times of emergency and have only been shut once during 9/11. Since this complex is home to so many important operations like a space control center and national warning facility, it's locked and guarded to the nines. That being said, since we know some of what's going on down there, it's far less desirable to visit. At number 5. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse. Located on the northern Oregon coast of the United States, also known as Terrible Tilly or just Tilly, this is one lighthouse that you can't visit. Tilly gained its nickname from the ferocious storms and difficulties facing the lighthouse keepers. Tillamook Rock rises nearly 100 feet from the sea and is located 20 miles south of the mouth of the Columbian River. Building the lighthouse in the first place was rough. The first person hired to take on the project was master mason and lighthouse builder John Trewavis. Unfortunately, John ended up being swept out to sea after falling off the rock before he could get far. After this incident, craftsmen were reluctant to work on the lighthouse, but construction foreman Charles Ballantyne stepped up with a crew of 8. Once on the rock, the men worked under horrible conditions. One day the wind was so bad it swept away their supply house and left workers stranded for 16 days. After preparing the rock, the construction of Tilly took over 100 days to complete. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse began operations in January 1881. With a starting budget of just $50,000, Tilly cost closer to $125,000 in the end. Duty at Tillamook Rock meant isolation, horrible storms, and hazardous environment. On top of that, supplies sent to the rock were often delayed for days or even weeks. It was decommissioned in 1957 due to the extensive wear and tear. The lighthouse has bounced between a few private owners since shutting off its light. Even if you wanted to visit Tilly today, you'd have to resort to a helicopter because of the harsh waters. The rock is even off limits to its owners come time for the seabird nesting season. At number 4, Dulce Base. Like Area 51, Dulce Base is the subject of conspiracy theories claiming that a jointly operated human and alien underground facility exists. Apparently, the facility lies under the Archuleta Mesa Mountain on the Colorado-New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. On the surface, Dulce is just your average small town, so small it doesn't even have a single traffic light. According to the bizarre claims, the small town is just the tip of the iceberg. The alleged massive underground facility is said to be home to unimaginable experiments and technologies. For the extreme alien believers, we are all overlooking a high-tech world full of aliens. According to the conspiracy theorists, the Dulce subterranean base is a 7-story compound that houses human-animal hybrids, human-alien hybrids, and extremely advanced technologies. It is possible that it's all made up, but if the government really was experimenting with aliens, it would make sense that they do it under a mountain near a very small town. One thing I find interesting about the Dulce base is that these theories are not new. First claims of the base's existence date all the way back to the 1930s. The rumors of alien intervention didn't start up until the 70s when a former state police trooper named Gabe Valdez documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area. There have also been claims of UFO sightings and other paranormal activity in the area over the years. Secret aliens or not, it sounds like there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce that I don't want to look any further into. Number 3, Fort Knox. I bet you've heard at least least once in your life someone make a reference to something being harder to get into than Fort Knox, and there's a reason for this. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky, south of Louisville. The reason it's so hard to get into Fort Knox is because of the Bullion Depository, a fortified vault located adjacent to the Fort Knox Army Post. It's operated by the United States Mint Police, and it's super well known for its physical security. The depository was built back in 1936 and is operated by the United States Department of the Treasury. The excessive security is in place because it's home to over half the entire country's gold reserves. Early shipments of gold totaling almost 13,000 metric tons were escorted by combat cars to the depository. In the past, it's also been home to other precious items like the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Fort Knox is so heavily protected and secure that the vicinity is off limits to visitors. Even the president has limitations. In fact, only one president has ever been allowed entry, and that was Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943. Along with the heavy-duty physical barriers and fences, the government pays $5 million annually just for security. Number 2. North Brother Island. This tiny island in New York City is located smack dab in the middle of the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was the site of the infamous Riverside Hospital for quarantinable diseases. If you've ever heard of Typhoid Mary, this is the place where she spent her final days and finally succumbed to her namesake illness in 1938. After World War II, the island was repurposed as housing for veterans and their families. Then it transitioned to being a rehabilitation center for adolescent substance use, which ended up closing in the 60s amid allegations of fraud. After being home to many dark but important facilities, the entire North Brothers Island was closed permanently to the public and became a bird sanctuary. That being said, photographer Christopher Payne was able to go to the island in 2006 after being granted access by the New York City Department of Recreation. The photos he captured of the island are a little haunting, especially with its history of rehab centers and hospitals for the diseased. These photos are interesting to see, but do not make me want to visit the abandoned island even if I could. The whole place looks like it's been taken over by, well, birds, and it's crazy that it's so close to the hustle and bustle of the city. Many people have stepped foot on the North Brother Island over the years, but now the only way to get a glimpse is through Payne's photos or if you have wings and a beak. And at number 1, Niihau Island. This island has been privately owned for over 100 years with only an estimated 170 residents. The invite-only island sparked so much interest from travelers across the world due to its extreme exclusivity, commonly referred to as Hawaii's Forbidden Island. It is the westernmost main and 7th largest inhabited island in all of Hawaii. Niihau is also a crucial habitat for some endangered plant species. The island was purchased by Elizabeth St. Clair in 1864 for just $10,000, which would be the equivalent to about $170,000 in 2021. St. Clair purchased it from the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the ownership has been passed down for generations, currently belonging to her grandsons, the Robinson brothers. The island is off limits to all outsiders unless the brothers Bruce and Keith personally invite you for a visit. The people of Niihau are noted for their remarkable craftsmanship and mainly speak in Hawaiian. The reason they have kept the island off limits to the outside world is due to a promise made to a former Hawaiian king. The promise was to protect the island from the mainland and the rest of the world to maintain the beloved heritage, and that's exactly what they've done. To this day, Niihau has rejected the use of modern technologies and survives without electricity, running water, internet, stores, restaurants, paved roads, or cars. A modern-day ancient civilization. It would be fascinating to see how they do things over on Niihau, but it's nice to know they've kept their promise for so long. Coming in at number 10, the Elite Disney 33 Club in Anaheim, California. Disney might be open to the public, but this area of Disney is actually off limits and reserved only for the elite of the elite. In Disneyland, located in Anaheim, California, there is an area that was built by Walt Disney, but he unfortunately never got the chance to enjoy it due to his death before construction was finished. Now, the club was originally created as a place for him to entertain important guests. Now this area is still for important guests as the entry is invite only, on top of a $100,000 fee and $30,000 in annual dues. For those of you who have been to Disneyland, which I have not by the way, you probably have walked through New Orleans Square, which is a replica of Louisiana's iconic city. Somewhere there though, you'll find Club 33, a members only destination. Now the invite only club has a wait list, and I doubt that I'll ever get to go there, but it sounds really cool. Number 9.
The Hollywood sign, Los Angeles, California. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I bring up the Hollywood sign. Now, you might be confused. It's a huge tourist attraction. Yes, it is. But there are areas around the sign that are prohibited. The closest you can get to the sign is behind and above the sign, where you can enjoy the fabulous view of the city. The sign is on rough, steep terrain, and there are barriers to prevent unauthorized access. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Police Department installed a security system featuring motion detection and closed-circuited cameras. Any movement in the marked restricted areas triggers an alarm that notifies the police, therefore you cannot go and touch the sign. Access to other areas are restricted, and the area is heavily surveilled as it's monitored 24/7, as mentioned before, by the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments and park rangers. Although some people have gone through security to vandalize the sign. I mean, does anyone remember Hollyweed on January 1st, 2017? Nope, just me? Okay. Well, it remains mostly prohibited. Number 8. Hart Island, Bronx, New York. Hart Island is located in the Bronx, New York, and is a 1-mile long strip of land in the Long Island Sound that has served many functions over centuries. The island's first public use was as a training ground for the United States colored troops in 1864. Since then, Hart Island has been the location of a Union Civil War prison camp, a psychiatric institution, a tuberculosis sanatorium, a potter's field with mass burials, a homeless shelter, a boys' reformatory, a jail, a drug rehabilitation center, and a cemetery. You can get to the island, but it is very difficult. Hart Island is only open one weekend each month for families to visit grave sites. Other members of the public must book an appointment months in advance, but it can even be rejected. Coming in at number 7 is New York Stock Exchange, New York City, New York. Thanks to movies including The Wolf of Wall Street and The Big Short, many of us have become fascinated by what goes on inside the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, I know I am. It's easily the most important landmark on Wall Street, since the stock exchange practically created the financial district by marketing the neighborhood as an area of business. The main building was built in 1903 and it impressed everybody. This high-profile building was once open to visitors at one point, but it has been closed off to visitors since the September 11th attacks. The increased security now makes it impossible to get too close, but you can soak up all its glory from the outside. It sucks that you can't go inside anymore, but it's a valid reason and safety is important. Number 6. Robbins Island, Suffolk County, New York. Located just off Long Island, this private island is not only extremely valuable as it's impossible to access. The 435-acre teardrop of land belongs to billionaire businessman Louis Bacon and is thought to be worth around $500 million. He purchased it in 1993 at a bankruptcy court auction for only $11 million. He has made significant investments in restoring the neglected island, going so far as to import full-grown oak trees to replace the ones harvested for lumber years earlier. Some non-native grasses were removed from the island and replaced, and hunters reduced the overgrown deer population. The island has the healthiest turtle population in the state, which includes the eastern mud turtle. Louis has spent years rebuilding the ecosystem, and he believes allowing others on the island will lead to its destruction, so no one can visit. Number 5. The Knickerbocker Club, New York City, New York. If you happen to be among the world's elite, you might just be lucky enough to be invited inside this stunning Georgian mansion. If not, then this is as close as you'll get to the Knickerbocker Club, or the Knick. Now, what is it? It's considered one of America's most exclusive societies. It was founded in 1871 by 18 former members of the Union Club who did not like the Union's club expansion of the membership. Among the Knickerbocker Club founders were such prestigious New Yorkers as Alexander Hamilton and John Jacob Astor. This club is considered one of the most aristocratic gentlemen's clubs in the world, and it only has one rule concerning giving out information about the club, and that is to never give any information out about the club ever. The men-only club is secretive, it doesn't even have a website. Their single Yelp review says, "Truly one of the finest private men's clubs in America. We had a lovely dinner with friends friends there. It is a reciprocal with the club I belong to. Highly recommend if you get an invitation. Now, the fact that members are forbidden to discussing the going-ons with anyone is interesting, but it seems like someone blabbed though, because if it truly was a secret, we wouldn't know about it, now would we? Anyway, it had many notable members, including Franklin D. Roosevelt and financier J.P. Morgan. Number 4. Rikers Island, New York City, New York. Rikers Island is a 413-acre island in the East River between Queens and the Bronx that contains New York City's main jail complex. It's been there since 1932 and has gained a reputation for brutality and mistreatment. Rikers Island has a reputation for violence, both abuse and neglect of inmates, attracting increased press and judicial scrutiny that has resulted in numerous rulings against the New York City government and numerous by inmates on uniformed and civilian staff, often resulting in serious injuries. In May 2013, Rikers Island ranked as one of the 10 worst correctional facilities in the United States. It's also one of the world's largest correctional institutions and mental institutions that's operated by the New York City Department of Correction, which has a budget of $860 million a year. It has a staff of 9,000 officers and 1,500 civilians who manage 100,000 admissions per year. An average daily population is around 10,000 inmates. The likes of David Berkowitz, the serial killer known as Son of Sam, and Sex Pistols Sid Vicious were incarcerated on Rikers, and today it remains one of America's most notorious prisons. Number 3. Mount Weather, Bluemont, Virginia. If the world is ending, I want to go here. Mount Weather is a facility located in Bluemont, Virginia that is controlled by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This facility is used to support emergency management operations and is located on a 434-acre site and is run by 240 employees. Mount Weather Emergency's Operations Center has important communication links with the White House and reportedly includes an underground bunker with its own hospital, crematorium, and emergency power plant. Today, Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operation facilities and remains off limits to civilians. It's considered the safest spot in the world. In the event of a nuclear war or zombie apocalypse, US government officials will be gathered and sent there. It was built during the Cold War, and this facility is designed to protect people and national treasures from an event of global destruction. Number 2. ADX Florence, Florence, Colorado. Could ADX Florence be America's most secure building? I think so. ADX Florence is an American federal prison in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. It is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It opened in 1994 and is classed as a supermax or control unit prison, referring to its extremely high levels of security, as it has a more controlled level of custody than maximum security prison. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners more capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. As of August 2022, there are a total of 341 inmates housed. They are confined 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities of poured reinforced concrete to deter self-harm, and they are under 24-hour supervision, which is carried out intensively with high staff-inmate ratios. Now, during their hour outside the cell, which can occur at any time, day or night, they are kept under restraint, handcuffed, shackled, or both. The hour outside the cell is for exercise and a phone call if they have earned the privilege. Their diet is restricted due to ensure that the food cannot be used to harm themselves or create unhygienic conditions in their cell. Some cells even have showers, which further reduces the amount of handling of inmates that correctional officers have to perform. In fact, this is such a secure facility that very few images of it exist. And coming in at number 1, Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is located in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Historically, the island has been uninhabited due to its location and distance from the mainland. But in 1979, it was established as a home for a colony of free-ranging rhesus monkeys, hence the name Monkey Island. Originally, the monkey colony now located on Morgan Island was located at the Caribbean Primate Research Center in La Paraguera, Puerto Rico. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were incidents of the free-ranging monkeys escaping, carrying viral herpes herpes B infections, which led to outbreaks in the local population. Puerto Rico was alarmed by this, and South Carolina stepped in to offer an inhabited island for research. In 1979 and 1980, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. The island is owned by the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, and the monkeys are owned by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The monkeys are used for public health research by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Now, the risk they carry with having diseases is the reasons why it isn't safe for any human to come in contact with them. It's said that there are more than 3,500 monkeys and that it's such a safety issue that they are fed through an automated machine. Some humans have entered the island only if necessary, and after their visit to the island, they are quarantined to prevent spread of any diseases.
And we're starting things off with Bohemian Grove in Monte Rio, California. This almost 3,000 acre campground is completely off limits unless you're incredibly rich. Also, no girls allowed. This is a men's only camping retreat. Every year, the Grove plays host to a gathering of the creme de la creme, the powerful and influential from all walks of life. But what exactly goes on within this place? That's the million-dollar question, my friend. There are only whispers and rumors, tales of peculiar rituals and mysterious ceremonies. One tale that's made the rounds is about a massive owl statue said to preside over the grounds. It's said that this owl becomes the focal point for a gathering of hooded figures, world leaders, powerful businessmen, and even renowned artists who engage in some kind of secretive ritual. Access to Bohemian Grove is tightly guarded, surrounded by military personnel, and the entire area is completely off limits to prying eyes and cameras. So something's going on in there. Political discussions, covert deals, and who knows what else. This one really creeps me out. I don't like the idea of uber powerful rich men meeting in the middle of the forest and performing rituals. That's just too cultish for me. I'm imagining that they put on cloaks and owl masks and then like sacrifice virgins or something. Hopefully they just hang out and talk about the stock market. But why you wouldn't be able to do that with women around and you'd need armed guards surrounding the place certainly raises a lot of questions though. Next on the list we have spy hubs. These mysterious windowless buildings are located in 8 different cities across the United States, and as to what goes on inside them, nobody knows, other than the people who work there, of course. These buildings are operated by the NSA, or the National Security Agency for long, with buildings in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. These facilities are said to be built to withstand earthquakes or even nuclear attacks. I don't know why every building can't have that level of fortitude. I guess the no windows thing would be a bit of a drag, but now nobody knows exactly what goes on inside of these buildings, but there is some evidence that suggests it's part of a spy initiative, or surveillance initiative, monitoring billions of different people's computers, internet activity within the United States, emails, chats, even phone calls. Next up, we have Diego Garcia. This top secret military base is currently occupied by the United States military and is located on a remote island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The naval base is equipped with radar, space tracking, and communications facility and is primarily used to support US and allied forces deployed to the Indian Ocean. But due to how locked down the place is, there have been a variety of different conspiracy theories floating around. In 2008, a Time magazine article stated that there was a secret prison located on the island, housing those deemed or expected to be particularly dangerous threats to the United States and also prisoners of war. There's also a theory that the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 was shot down close to the base, potentially shot down by the US military after the plane was hacked. Coming in at number 7, we have Mount Weather. Nestled amidst the picturesque Blue Ridge Mountains sits the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, completely off limits to the public. But why? Oh, why is it off limits? It's home to a top secret government facility, one that plays a crucial role in the continuity of government operations. This underground complex, hidden beneath the surface, is said to be a fortress-like haven designed to withstand catastrophic events and serve as a command center in times of national emergency. Some even speculate that it serves as a refuge for high-ranking officials, ensuring the survival of governance in the nation. Mount Weather is tightly guarded, fences, checkpoints, surveillance systems, which it discourages any attempts to venture too close. The secrecy surrounding this place has of course fueled all sorts of theories and speculations. What sensitive super secret material could possibly be housed there? Is this an Area 51 situation? Or maybe it could be aliens stored somewhere in there? We'll probably never know. Next up, we have Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. This is one a lot of people have probably heard of. This stretch of land is renowned for being one of the strangest places, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. This remote area has been the site of reported sightings of strange creatures, unexplained lights, and other odd events that have left, locals, paranormal enthusiasts, everybody is just very intrigued by this place. One of the most perplexing phenomena witnessed at Skinwalker Ranch is the appearance of strange creatures. Some call them skinwalkers. According to Native American legends, skinwalkers possess the ability to transform into various animal forms and are associated with dark magic and witchcraft. Witnesses claim to have encountered strange animals with glowing red eyes, unscathed by bullets in the area. The ranch is also plagued by very frequent UFO sightings. Witnesses have reported seeing unusual flying objects maneuvering through the sky with incredible speed, performing maneuvers that defy the laws of physics. These sightings have led to speculation that the ranch may be a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity, attracting beings from other worlds. The ranch experiences a range of strange and terrifying occurrences like bizarre electromagnetic fluctuations, unexplained animal mutilations, sudden changes in weather patterns. Even scientific investigations conducted on the ranch have documented strange phenomena that defy conventional explanations. At number 5, we have Dulce Base. Dulce Base, located in the remote town of Dulce, New Mexico, has become the subject of very intense speculation and a hotbed for conspiracy theories. This alleged underground facility is believed to house extraterrestrial life. Some believe that there's this joint operation going on between extraterrestrial beings and the US government, a secretive hub for alien research and experimentation, where humans and extraterrestrials work together on advanced technologies and genetic manipulation. Some think that the aliens are actually the ones operating the facility. Proponents of this theory claim that horrific experiments, including abductions, mind control, and human-animal hybrids are being conducted in the facility. Whistleblowers and self-proclaimed insiders have emerged, sharing tales of witnessing these disturbing events and the existence of a highly guarded cover-up. Next on the list is Morgan Island in South Carolina, which is home to thousands of monkeys. The first of these monkeys were transported to the island in 1979 after an outbreak of herpes B virus spread through the Caribbean Primate Research Center in Puerto Rico. Now these monkeys are thriving on Morgan Island, but too bad you can't visit them. The island is completely off limits to the public, but why? Seems like a lot of money probably be made allowing people to come and see them. The thing is, a number of these monkeys are taken from the island each year and used for animal testing. Vaccines for AIDS, polio, and even bioterrorism have been tested on these monkeys. It's a controversial practice, to say the least, especially when you consider something else, that maybe these monkeys are being harvested and tested on to become super monkeys. Biomechanical creatures to be deployed in the United States military. Ever thought of that? It's a possibility. I can dream. Coming at number 3 is the Coca-Cola Vault. As it turns out, one of the most heavily guarded places in North America was constructed to protect this highly precious commodity. The vault, which is located in the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, is there for the public to look at, but not to look in. It's a giant bank-type vault, virtually impenetrable. This is just proof that Coca-Cola will always be superior to Pepsi, by the way. Where's your top secret formula hidden within an impenetrable vault Huh? Pepsi? Plot twist though, maybe they're actually located in the exact same place and have been working together this whole time. No better way to take the focus off the potential competition than to have two huge brands battle it out for supremacy and take all the spotlight in the process. It actually kinda makes sense. At our number 2 spot, we have the George Bush Center for Intelligence, commonly known as Langley. Within the serene surroundings of Virginia, this sprawling complex, which at one time was the largest intelligence headquarters in the world, serves as the headquarters for the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. So, unless you're a member, you're not getting in. Its very location, tucked away from prying eyes, has led to conspiracies about covert activities that may be taking place inside of it. One theory revolves around the alleged existence of secret underground tunnels connected to other big government installations, that perhaps these tunnels facilitate secretive operations and allow for covert movement of personal and secretive information hidden from public scrutiny. Some conspiracy theorists claim that the center acts as a hub for controlling global affairs, manipulating governments, and even orchestrating international conflicts. Theories have floated around for years about the agency's involvement in political coups and even mind control experiments. But coming in at our number 1 spot is the most well-known secret place on the planet, which is a bit of a contradictory statement: Area 51. Area 51, the highly classified United States Air Force facility located in the Nevada desert, has long been shrouded in mystery, fueled by countless conspiracy theories. The secrecy surrounding this site has sparked widespread speculation and curiosity. One of the most well-known conspiracies is that Area 51 holds evidence of extraterrestrial life and serves as a hub for alien technology research. Believers argue that crashed UFOs and their occupants are secretly stored and studied within the base. Some even believe that aliens actually work within the facility. These claims have, of course, given rise to stories of reverse engineering advanced alien spacecrafts, leading to the development of advanced military technology that, well surpasses anything publicly known. Another mystery surrounding Area 51 is its alleged connection to top secret government experiments and projects in general, not having to do anything with aliens. Some theories suggest that this facility is involved in testing and developing advanced aircraft stealth technology and even time travel capabilities.
Starting off our list at number 10, Lake Natron. Okay, we got a few bodies of water on this list, and each one is horrible in their own unique way. This is considered one of the most inhospitable areas of the world. The lake's extreme levels of sodium carbonate decahydrate make the water corrosive to human skin and eyes, so you don't want to look at this stuff or touch it, just back away pretty much. But the only animal that you'll see that's bigger than bacteria is a flamingo. Yeah, the protection of this lake is vital for us and also flamingos and wildlife. Save them by not tubing in this lake. Awesome. Number 9, Death Valley. With a name like Death Valley, it's gotta be pretty bad, right? There's a Death Valley in Zelda. That one sucks, I don't know. Death Valley sits on the California-Nevada border. It's known, of course, for its extreme heat. One of the hottest places on Earth, in fact. The only deserts on the planet that come close to the same level of heat here is in the Middle East and Africa, and on peak heat days, you know what I mean? It's like a different planet, Death Valley. It's horrible. Back in July 2018, Death Valley was the hottest place the Earth has ever seen. Broke records. For 4 days in a row, the average temperature went as high as 127 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 52 degrees Celsius. Imagine it's 52 outside. I'm sweating thinking about Death Valley. It feels like it's 52 degrees in that parking lot outside. I don't know why, but it's so hot right now. Number 8, Skeleton Coast. Again, another lovely name right off the hop. This one is not from a Zelda game, not yet at least, but it sits north of Namibia. It reaches from the South Kikine River to the Swakop River. It again lands on the deadly places on Earth list, but this time, why? There's water here, right? We could just cool down if need be, right? While the area, firstly, if its name didn't tip you off, is covered in skeletons. Nothing can survive here due to its harsh climates and toxic water, and you guessed it, human activity. Yeah, we kind of ruined this one as well. Humans tend to make things worse. Who knew? Number 7, Israel Cursed Tomb. Here we go, into the Mummy franchise, let's do it. A secret tomb was discovered in Israel only a couple of months ago. Now this is the first time a tomb has been found at the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 65 years, so it's quite a big deal. The actual cave itself was discovered a year ago, but these smaller chambers are now being found recently, right? as in like a month or two ago recently. It's exciting on one page, but on the other, it's scary because some tombs are cursed. This one came with a message. It vows to curse anybody who would open said grave. And this message is written in blood red, just to make it more horrible. So yeah, can we not open this one? Maybe? I don't know. Last time we had a black sarcophagus in Egypt, people were sticking their heads in, and then, I don't know, pandemic arrived 2 years later, so let's stop. Number 6, Egyptian tomb. We're all curious about what happens after you die, right? But nobody celebrated the end of your days like the ancient Egyptians. It was beautiful. Some tombs are cursed, others are, nice. Ancient Egyptians would paint doors, they would leave valuables. Any new tomb we discover now provides more hints as to what lies beyond, perhaps. An ancient necropolis was discovered only a few years ago, again in Egypt, and in it contained dozens of coffins and a necklace that holds a message from the afterlife. Nice, now we're talking. We love little spoilers. Give us a hint. What can we expect? What should I wear? What's cover up there? This site is around 2,000 years old, and they're in the process currently of excavating it as we speak. But so far, the tombs and artifacts found, officials think, belong to an ancient priestess. A message from the afterlife is pretty spectacular, but what does it say? Well, we're still waiting to find out, but we're close. We're getting into the right, James Webb's looking up, we're looking down. This is good. I'm terrified either way. Number 5, Chernobyl. Of course, one of the greatest nuclear disasters ever. We have to talk about it. Back on April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl power complex went off due to unstable and low power levels. Reactor 4 had been shut down a day before due to maintenance, and the next day at 1:23 a.m., radioactive debris compiled of fuel and reactor components just rained down over the building. Toxic fumes were carried from the wind, and after just 4 months, 28 workers had passed away due to radiation exposure, and the whole area had to be shut down. Eventually, they had to evacuate over 100,000 residents, and to this day, that zone is a no-go. Reactor 4 will stay highly radioactive for another 20,000 years, yet there's some residents who apparently still live there. Somehow. How terrifying is that? Number 4. The Forbidden City. Of course, we have to mention this one. Located in Beijing, China, the Forbidden City has quite the reputation. I'm never going near this one. This building used to be the Imperial Palace, and of course, like other places on this list, it's not littered with tourists, but this time for unobvious reasons. This building has quite the grim history, so the amount of reports that come in, sightings of demons, there's a lot. Apparently there's a lot of demons just lurking around. The number of ghostly encounters shot up once the palace opened to the public in the 1940s. In many of these cases, visitors would report seeing a ghostly woman dressed in, you guessed it, all white, the classic ghost apparel. More often than not, you can find her ghost wandering the palace at night, weeping. Yeah, tourists say they hear a woman weeping in the hallways. I can't tell if I'm sad or scared. A little bit of both. Number 3, Lake Acid. Not to be confused with Lake Placid, although that one's also pretty bad in its own unique way. The Lake of Acid is in Ethiopia, and since we mentioned super acid earlier, I figured this would be a good one to bring out. It's also referred to as the gateway to hell. The Danakil Depression is made of boiling hot ponds that release chlorine and sulfur gases into the air. So you don't have to look, you don't have to touch, you can just inhale and you're doomed. Just simply standing around this lake can kill you. So where does something like this come from besides, I don't know, science fiction? This is horrible. How does a lake of acid just come to be? What the f? Like, you know what I mean? It's a lake of acid. Can we, get rid of it? This horrifying landscape is the result of 3 continental plates being torn apart. It's part of the East African Rift System. Not 1, but 2 active volcanoes surround the Danakil Depression. Hence the, bubbling magma lurking below the dry landscape. That's what does it. It's one of the hottest places on Earth for a reason. Active hydrothermal ozones aren't new. That's what Yellowstone National Park is, but you need a gas mask to go to this one, so, We're camping over here, we're dying over here. Let's avoid it. Number 2, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe. You've probably heard about this at some point. Don't go here. One of the most forbidden islands in the world, okay? But why? Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers from India. And while most islands are shrinking, this one actually grew back in 2004. The island actually lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the universe is like, yes, more. The inhabitants on this floating cursed island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world, right? They haven't heard of the new iPhone or any of that. They're completely out of touch. They've been there for thousands of years and they're not going anywhere because, well, we're not trying to get close. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire, yet this tribe has thrived. If we try and get close, they try and drive everybody away. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who or what was on it. The Indian government didn't roll up to the beach and start interrogating or arresting locals. Instead, it's now completely forbidden to go to this island. Yeah, just leave them. Let people be. For once in our human lives, please. And finally, number 1, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island is a very different looking place when it comes to New York. It's quiet. Everywhere else is busy and full of hot dogs and pigeons and people yelling in cabs. This place over here, eerily quiet. North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. Oh, nice, how helpful is that? You may be thinking a hospital on an island. One, that's pretty inconvenient. Just rowing patients out there, you're like, hang on buddy. Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, tuberculosis. It was a quarantine zone, right? Although the hospital has since been abandoned, it's now sitting there just falling apart, just cursed land. We love that. The island has been quite active though, in a way. A body was found near the island, a steamship crashed on the island, there's a haunted lighthouse on the island, and they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner. I thought Coffee Time was bad. Coffin Corner, that's pretty, I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, to be honest with you.
And we're starting off this list with the Potawatomi County Jail located in Council Bluffs, Iowa. It was built in 1885 and is known as the squirrel cage, or at least it used to be, due to its unique design. Instead of traditional cells, the jail featured a rotating circular cage. The design was kind of revolutionary for the time. It was intended to increase security and allow for better surveillance of the inmates, but was ultimately discontinued due to its impracticality. Some prisoners were also severely harmed in the rotating contraption. So basically there was these cylindrical cages that prisoners' cells were located in. They each had one opening, and the jailer turned this crank and the cell would rotate to either face the opening or the enclosed part of the cage. It was pretty dangerous, and a lot of prisoners lost limbs. So yeah, not a place you would have wanted to end up in. Despite being decommissioned in 1969, many people believe that this county jail is haunted. The former jail was also featured in Ghost Adventures, so if you want to learn more about it, you can check that episode out. At number 9, we have the Orleans Parish Prison. Orleans Parish Prison, located in New Orleans, Louisiana, is regarded as one of the worst prisons in the United States and was one of the most heavily impacted facilities during Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The prison has a violent reputation and has been scrutinized for being understaffed, filthy. Probably the most infamous incident at the prison, though, took place during Hurricane Katrina. Roughly 650 prisoners were left behind in the prison after the hurricane hit, and the conditions inside quickly deteriorated. Of course, as the floodwaters rose and power was lost, many inmates were left without food, water, basic necessities, and some were forced to drink from toilets in order to survive. It's believed that over 500 prisoners lost their lives. The State Correctional Institution, also known as Western Penitentiary in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This former prison has been left abandoned since 2017 and is known for a particularly dark incident that took place in 1987. A fire broke out in one of the prison's cell blocks, causing significant damage and endangering the lives of inmates and staff. That's what fire does. It's dangerous. It was later revealed, though, that the fire had been deliberately started by a group of guards in response to a protest by inmates. The incident happened when a group of inmates began protesting poor conditions and mistreatment at the facility, including overcrowding and limited access to basic necessities. In response, a group of guards reportedly entered the cell block and set fire to a pile of garbage, causing the blaze to quickly spread throughout the area. Inmates were left trapped in their cells, and smoke and flames engulfed the block. Many suffered smoke inhalation and other injuries as a result. Nevada State Prison. This former prison started operation in 1862 and has been left abandoned since 2012. Located in Carson City, Nevada State Prison was known for its harsh conditions, numerous executions, and some of its infamous inmates. Prison's long history has this association with death and despair, and it's led a lot of people to believe it could be haunted. Numerous reports of paranormal activity have been documented by visitors and employees of the prison. Strange sounds, eerie voices, and unexplained footsteps have all been discussed, particularly in the cell blocks, the execution chamber. Visitors have also reported feeling a sense of unease or, being watched by mysterious eyes. And some have even claimed to have seen apparitions of former inmates or guards. One of the most famous ghosts believed to haunt the prison is that of a former inmate who was executed by hanging in the 19th century. Many visitors have also reported seeing his ghost in the execution chamber or hearing his disembodied voice. Other reported hauntings include a guard who was murdered by inmates in the 1950s. The prison's eerie reputation has drawn attention from a lot of ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts like Jack Baggins himself and his Ghost Adventures crew. Next up, we have the Old Essex County Jail. The Old Essex County Jail, located in Newark, New Jersey, was known for its harsh conditions and, again, brutal treatment of inmates. Today, many people believe that the jail is haunted by the spirits of those who died within the walls due to the extreme conditions and inhumane treatment of the former inmates. One of the main reasons why the Old Essex County Jail is considered haunted is the high number of deaths that occurred. The jail's overcrowded conditions, poor sanitation, and lack of medical care led to numerous outbreaks of disease, which claimed the lives of many inmates. Additionally, the jail was the site of several violent incidents. Trauma and, pain that happened within these walls, some say kind of left an imprint on the jail, leading to the supposed paranormal activity. And another factor that contributes to the possible haunting is the evidence of ghostly activity. If you want to call it evidence, it's people saying they've seen or heard things. Visitors and staff have reported hearing strange noises, whispers, all your classics. Some have even seen full-bodied apparitions, including the ghost of a former inmate who is said to have hung himself within his cell. Others have experienced sudden drops in temperature or seen unexplained orbs of light. I always find orbs kind of boring, but I don't know, that's just me. I want to see like a ghost, The point is, this site is now abandoned and technically prohibited, so enter at your own risk. The Missouri State Penitentiary. This former prison located in Jefferson City, Missouri, that was operational for 168 years. Prison was notorious for overcrowding, inhumane conditions, and it had a very violent history, with numerous riots and incidents of inmate abuse reported throughout its existence. Today, many people believe that the Missouri State Penitentiary is haunted, with paranormal activity reported by visitors and staff. One of the most reported ghostly sightings is that of a shadowy figure who is said to haunt the gas chamber where he was executed. Other reported sightings include the ghosts of course, former inmates and guards. As I said before, the prison has a long and violent history, with countless inmates suffering and dying over its 168 years of operation. The prison was also the site of, again, numerous executions, with over 40 prisoners being put to death in the gas chamber alone. Next up is a pretty big one. It's Fremantle Prison. Fremantle Prison is a former maximum security prison located in Fremantle, Western Australia. A lot of supposedly haunted prisons in Australia, oddly enough. There's a ton. The prison was operational from 1855 to 1991 and housed some of the country's most notorious criminals. The prison is now a popular tourist attraction, but back when it was operational, probably not a place you'd want to go. And even still, many people believe that the Fremantle Prison is haunted, with numerous reports of ghostly sightings and unexplained phenomena. One of the most commonly reported ghostly sightings is that of a former inmate who was executed at the prison in 1844. Visitors have reported seeing his ghostly figure walking the prison's corridors in the middle of the night. Other reported paranormal activity includes the sound of footsteps, slamming doors, and unexplained noises coming from empty cells. Visitors have also reported feeling a sense, again, of unease or being touched by unseen hands while in certain areas of the prison. Next up, we have another Australian prison, the Old Melbourne Gaol. This former prison located in Melbourne, Australia, was operational from 1845 until 1924. The prison is famous for its grim history, with over 130 prisoners executed on the gallows during its operation. And today, the prison is open to the public as a museum with guided tours offering visitors a glimpse into the lives of the prisoners who were incarcerated. But when it was operational as a prison, again, you would have been warned never to go near it. It housed some of Australia's most notorious criminals and was known for its inhumane conditions. Big surprise, surprise. Prisoners' cells were tiny and overcrowded with up to 4 inmates crammed into a single cell. The prisoners were forced to sleep on hard wooden planks without any bedding. Sanitation was almost non-existent too, with only a few communal toilets available for hundreds of prisoners. The cells were rarely cleaned, and inmates were often left to live in filth, which resulted in the spread of disease and infection. And in terms of punishment, you had solitary confinement, flogging, or even hanging for the most serious of crimes. The gallows at the prison saw the execution of over 130 prisoners, making it one of the most notorious places of execution in Australian history, which is also why it's said to be one of the most haunted prisoners in Australia. The Atlanta Prison Farm is a former correctional facility located in Atlanta, Georgia. It's known for its tough conditions and forced labor practices. Today, the prison is abandoned, and many people believe it to be haunted. One of the most commonly reported paranormal occurrences at the Atlanta Prison Farm is the apparition of a former prisoner who was killed during a failed escape attempt. Visitors are reported seeing the ghostly figure of a man running through the prison's corridors before disappearing into the thin air. Some visitors to the prison have reported feeling a sense of unease or being touched again by people that aren't really there. There have also been reports of mysterious, orbs of light. I'm not too enthused about that, but people are really obsessed with orbs. There's orb enthusiasts out there. Figures are also seen appearing in photographs taken inside the prison. Despite the supposed paranormal activity at the prison, the Atlanta Prison Farm remains a popular destination for ghost hunters and urban explorers looking to experience the, haunted history firsthand. I'd actually like to go. I'd check it. I've never been to an abandoned, supposedly haunted place before, but, no one wants to go. Anyone want to go with me? Let me know in the comments. Probably won't happen, but, Garcia Prison, located in Quito, Ecuador, was once home to some of the most notorious criminals in the country's history. It was also violent and overcrowded, not a place I would have ever wanted to visit. Today, Garcia is well known for its haunted reputation. Many visitors and locals believe that the abandoned prison is haunted by the spirits of former inmates who suffered and died there. Some of the most commonly reported paranormal activity includes strange, weird noises, voices that are disembodied, and, just this eerie feeling of being watched. Visitors have also reported seeing ghostly figures and shadows moving throughout the prison, and the harsh living conditions, frequent outbreaks of violence, and numerous deaths that occurred within the prison are believed to have left a lingering presence of unrest and suffering. And it's interesting with this one too, because apparently it's abandoned, but a lot of the stuff the prisoners left behind are still there. It almost looks like people just suddenly disappeared. Despite being closed for several years, Garcia Prison continues to draw visitors who are interested in its macabre history and a chance to experience paranormal.
Kicking off the list at number 10, WikiLeaks. Companies have to be somewhere, right? We're a film studio in Toronto. We go to work, we clock in, we clock out. This is a physical place that we go to. But where do places like WikiLeaks live? Where are those odd safe houses, really? Well, apparently in Stockholm, buried around 100 feet below street level is an old nuclear bunker. Today, it's a facility owned by Swedish internet provider Bahnhof. This is where they keep servers for WikiLeaks, which is pretty hilarious. Julian Assange, frontrunner of this whole operation, his hard drive is in this bunker behind a 2-foot steel door accompanied by numerous backup generators. This guy will never get bored. If Netflix ever goes down, he's good. He's got 2 weeks of movies. Number 9, King Tut's artifacts. The new Grand Egyptian Museum opened up in 2021, and while that's quite recent, the contents displayed inside certainly are not. For the first time in history, King Tut's ancient belongings, the artifacts discovered with him initially, will all be on display. Yeah, this is huge. Prior to this museum being open, we only saw around 150 artifacts from his tomb in entirety. They took all these pieces on tour, but now this museum will house thousands of artifacts. It's the final resting place for King Tut's collection. That's over 7,000 square meters of just Egyptian history, all on display for you. It's pretty amazing. If you have a chance to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, or if you saw this King Tut World Tour live, Nice, I'm jealous, I'm really jealous. Number 8, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands in the world. But why? Really, why? It's located in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India. And while most islands are shrinking or disappearing, this one actually grew back in 2004. Yeah, the island actually lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so it's getting bigger, gained an extra kilometer, nice. The inhabitants on this island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. They've apparently been there for 50,000 years. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire yet, but somehow this tribe has thrived for this long. If we try and get close, they will try and drive anybody away with deadly force. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. We don't even know how many people are on this island to this day. We have zero clue. They aren't exactly these ruthless hunters per se, they're just protecting their land. Like they've done so for thousands of years. They're protecting this island from us, pretty much. And they'll continue to do so. Yeah, we're not getting close anytime soon. Number 7, Lascaux Cave. If you didn't visit this cave back in, say, 1963 or sooner, you lost your chance, my friend. Forever. Yeah, officially closed. The Lascaux cave system is now a World Heritage Site in France. These cave paintings are 17,300 years old. Paintings that depict cattle, bison, stags, you name it. They're beautiful, they're complex, and of course, they're extremely old. So old that the cave was closed to the public forever in 1963 after it declared human presence wasn't too healthy for its art. Yeah, our breathing would eventually cause this art to fade away. Plus, I'm sure somebody would have snuck in by now with a Sharpie had it remained open. 17,000-year-old paintings. Protect these for another 17,000. Please. Number 6, Surtsey Island. When it comes to new things in life, it's pretty rare we get a new island. Yeah, how lucky are we? We're even luckier that Disney didn't build a resort here. Nice, because now scientists get to study what an island looks like without human interaction for a change. Yeah, oh, we're nervous now, eh? We're like, oh, what's gonna happen with it? Is it nice? Is the air better? Surtsey Island on Iceland. As of right now, it's only open to a few scientists and geologists. Everybody else, beat it, pal, get lost. It was born from a volcanic eruption back in 1963, coincidence, at the same year that the caves closed. And scientists all have one rule on this island. No seeds, nothing. Choose something else, anything else, please. One guy accidentally pooped out a tomato seed and almost lost his job. The guy almost ruined the whole operation because he ate a tomato. What a stressful job. Better hold it, I guess, if you work there. Number 5, Niha Island. Located in Hawaii, this beautiful island is also not a sandals resort. Yet. Nice, that's good stuff. What do you know? In fact, the population of this island is only a whopping 170. It's also referred to as the Forbidden Island. It was bought back in 1864 by Elizabeth Sinclair, and it's been privately owned since, hence the small population. The thing is, in 1952, the polio epidemic hit the islands and a ban was put in place. So now you couldn't enter the island or leave. Yep, better pack your nicest flip-flops, buddy, you're staying. Nobody got sick, which is a good thing, but now if you want to enter the island or whatever, you have to gain special access, which is a lot harder than it may seem. Even if you're extremely rich, you can't just buy your way onto this island. There's something going on there. For now, we'll just, observe from a bush from afar. We'll just sit there with a telescope and have FOMO. Number 4, the Shanghai Complex. Most of the details on this one are still unknown. How fun is that? Nice. We love a nice mystery here on Top 10. The Shanghai Complex is a massive underground bunker, as you could have guessed. It's supposedly able to fit 200,000 civilians comfortably. Yeah, it's over 1 million square feet, and it was built in case a nuclear attack were to ever happen. Probably a great call. Probably some good stuff. This was a newspaper article back in 2006. Now imagine reading about this one morning while you're having your coffee, just all of a sudden an underground bunker. You're like, do we get tickets? How does this work? The Shanghai Morning Post touched on the new complex, saying it's got massive protective doors, everything you need, electricity, great ventilation. It can fully support life for 2 weeks. And yes, it's very secure. No one's getting in or out. Number 3, Svalbard Vault. Over the pandemic, I spent a lot of time playing video games. And a lot of these games always have a similar theme, I realized. Always like a post-apocalyptic, a lot of survivors and vaults. I'm referring to Fallout. That was definitely my go-to game. It's stressful but engaging, and in real life we have a global seed vault, and it's deep in the Arctic Circle on the island Spitsbergen. It's this massive bunker that has since been deemed the Doomsday Vault. That's nice. That has a nice ring to it. Sounds calming. This is where humans will store food crops. Like all of them. It contains 100 million seeds, so if the Earth all of a sudden were to get wiped out by White Walkers or all the ice melts, something bad happens and we're all doomed, well, this vault will be good to go long term. All that water that has since, eliminated humanity, plenty of hydration for future crops. April showers, I guess. Number 2, Denver International Airport. Since its opening in 1995, Denver International has been the subject of many myths. Some are pretty bizarre. I had to include it on our list today. Lizard people, that's the talk of the town. Apparently, they like to build airports on their off time, whether or not, ruling the Illuminati. Yeah, so far it's believed the Freemasons built this airport, or the Illuminati, or lizards, the New World Order, something, someone, I don't know. It's haunting. The airport itself is massive. It covers around 52 square miles. There's gargoyles that are hanging out in your baggage claim, so yeah, the art displayed is odd, that I get. It does seem creepy for sure. But the airport has started to lean into it almost. They laugh with this stuff. They have a conspiracy month that began back in 2016, so they're like, yeah, screw it, whatever you're saying, sure. They even showed a screening of Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the airport. What? Imagine you're traveling and this happens. I'd be like, what? Where am I? What year did I land in? I would lean into it too, honestly. If I was hiding a secret bunker, the only thing I would do is lean into it.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Pripyat Amusement Park. Ever heard of a town called Pripyat? Well, I'd be surprised to hear that you haven't, as this is a very known town around the world as a very horrible disaster once occurred there. I am speaking, of course, of the Chernobyl plant explosion that took place in 1986. Well, just before the explosion, Pripyat was planning on opening up an amusement park, the Pripyat Amusement Park, and the opening was scheduled for 5 days after the day that the explosion happened. Well, as you can imagine, the explosion was so bad that the amusement park plans were turned upside down. The park owners opened the park for 1 day to try to distract everyone from the horrible disaster, but as you can imagine, as everyone fled, the park closed and never reopened. The Ferris wheel is still standing there today, and there are dark tours that go through the park and the abandoned town. In our number 9 spot, we have Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park was located in West Virginia, and it was open from 1926 till 1966. This park ended up closing because it began to hold a horrible reputation, as a few killings happened on its grounds. One accidental, one seemingly not, and apparently others that haven't been confirmed, but nonetheless, this began to make visitors uncomfortable, and so the park shut down. People believe it to be haunted by the ghosts of the young ones that passed away there, but also people believe that the land was cursed from the start, as there was a quarrel between a First Nation tribe and a European settler once in this area. It had a brutal history from 1783, where the Shawnee Native American tribe ended up killing the offspring of the first man that made a home in their area, named Mitchell Clay. But there is so much more to the story, as apparently the park was built on a Native American burial ground, and many young ones were buried there. People believe these ghosts could be haunting the park too, but in any case, no one can deny that the park, even today, feels haunted. In our number 8 spot, we have Joyland Amusement Park. Located in Kansas, the Joyland Amusement Park was one of the biggest when it opened in 1949. 57 acres, in fact. It was doing very well until a lot of ride-related deaths started occurring. Then there was a massive scandal where an employee was killed by some people visiting the park, and that caused a lot of unwanted press. Then an employee was injured by a roller coaster, and finally someone fell off of a Ferris wheel in 2004. As you can imagine, all of these incidents led to lawsuits and eventually financial ruin for the park, where they then had to shut down. Apparently the park was purchased in 2018 with plans to turn it into a concert venue / wedding venue, but man, I hope they have had like 10 priests bless this ground first before they open it. In our number 7 spot, we have Dreamland Park. The Dreamland Park was located in Pennsylvania, and it opened in 1939. When this park opened, it didn't have too many attractions as you would imagine a typical amusement park to have. The park only had a roller rink, a band theater, a few rides, and a small car race track, and some picnic areas. In August of 1969, though, 2 people by the name of Marilyn Scheckler and Glenn Eckert were killed on the premise, and that is where the park began to have a reputation for being associated with gangs, gambling, and dark dealings. Another killing took place on the grounds in the 90s, and that is what led to the published non-fiction novel about the park. In our number 6 spot, we have the Magic Harbor Park. Here is another abandoned park with a dark
history. Magic Harbor, located near Myrtle Beach, opened in 1954. In 1976, one of the owners and his son were fatally injured by an employee of the park, which resulted in them both passing away. After this horrible incident, the wife of the park owner did not want to continue running the park, so it went into foreclosure and the bank took over. It was eventually bought out again, but in 1984, another tragedy happened where a young girl passed away after falling off a ride, and the park was sued for $12 million. With its poor reputation and now horrible financial issues, the park eventually closed. In our number 5 spot, we have Holy Land, USA. This is an old Christian theme park, as you may have deduced from the title. Holy Land. It opened in 1960, and apparently the theme park contained replicas of famous scenes from the Bible, such as the Garden of Eden, the Last Supper, etc. A large cross was placed on a hill and a big sign with its name on it that is apparently hard to miss if you're driving along Interstate 84 in Waterbury, Connecticut. Apparently the park was a hit and a Baptist owned it. Makes sense. And he originally closed the park in the 80s to work on expanding it, but then he passed away. Nuns of the area were maintaining the grounds, but over the years it got worse and worse due to vandalism and an unfortunate killing that took place under the cross. In our number 4 spot, we have Brandywine Springs. The Brandywine Springs amusement park opened in 1886 in Williamton, Delaware, and it was a good example of what you can imagine as good, clean fun. The park had a wooden roller coaster, a train, restaurants, a castle house, and much more. The park was a hotspot until a tragedy occurred when an employee and another male was fatally injured, and this certainly changed the park for good. The park closed in 1923, around the time that cars became more available to the average person, which made it easier for people to travel, and then they would find new adventures elsewhere and not spend their time/money at the park. Apparently the park is in ruins at the moment, but there are plans to put up signs and photographs of where the major attractions once stood so that people that walk through it can learn a little about its history. Well, that's fun. Maybe you're not prohibited from visiting this one. In our number 3 spot, we have Kujonuma Leisureland. Once a very popular amusement park in Japan, eventually it turned into something quite dark. It had all of the fun amusement park rides and was beloved by many, despite its ghost stories. Unlike many of the other parks here, the park only closed in 2000 due to a drop in visitors, which is believed to be the cause of Japan's declining birth rate and the economic crisis. However, there is a strange urban legend about the park that is still told today that has urban explorers wanting to visit the land. Apparently there is a lake by the park that is known to have a large snake population, and as the legend goes, a pregnant woman who lived near there gave birth to a serpent baby who escaped into the water, and every night the woman would hear the baby cry. It drove her mad, and she ended up taking her own life in the lake, and it was her ghost that people believed haunted the park. Dark. People have reported hearing her and her serpent baby's cries. In our number 2 spot, we have Rocky Point Amusement Park. Rocky Point Amusement Park, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, opened in 1847 and didn't close till 1995. It had a long history of over 150 years of being active, and it attracted a lot of very famous guests who performed there over the years. Some of the later guests you would know include Pat Benatar, the Ramones, and a personal fave of mine, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It only had one killing on site ever recorded, and it was in 1893 when a clinically insane man fatally injured his daughter. The park was so popular that eventually people forgot about the incident. This is one park that would honestly just be sad to visit because it seems like it was so cool. I don't wish sadness for you, so don't go and visit it. In our number 1 spot, we have Gulliver's Kingdom. Gulliver's Kingdom, an amusement park in Japan that opened in 1997 near the base of Mount Fuji, is probably the creepiest park I have ever seen. I mean, the park was based off of a book called Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift, and so I bet the park wouldn't feel as creepy for people that have read the book. The park famously had a giant lying on its back, a picture that we can assume is taken from the book. The park existed for only about 10 years before it closed due to the park just not resonating with the people as the owners thought it would. Honestly, an idea like this feels too big for the 90s. People are way more open now creatively, so I bet it would be a hit these days. Instagram was invented a little too late. At this point, the park has been demolished, so it's no longer a site for urban explorers, but the pictures of this very chilling park will live on in our brains forever. In our our number 10 spot, we have the Bodmin Jail. The Bodmin Jail is located in Cornwall, England. This jail opened in 1779, and in its most active days, King George III would hold more than 150 criminals in there. Quite the overcrowded prison of the time, although people have long held the belief that King George III was mad, so I suppose this decision could be the result of this. Apparently, over 100 years, 55 executions took place in Bodmin. A notable execution was a woman named Selina Wadge, whom many have believed that she still haunts the grounds today. Screaming and banging on the walls has been known to be heard at this prison. Now, this prison was closed and abandoned as a prison in 1926, but eventually it was actually turned into a tourist destination, so you can actually visit this prison. But honestly, at your own risk. You may run into the ghost of Selena, and some say she isn't quite as nice as Casper the Friendly Ghost, if you catch my drift. In our number 9 spot, we have the Atlanta Prison Farm. Located in Atlanta, Georgia, this is a prison that was caught on fire in 2009, and the firefighters did not even try to extinguish the flames. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a treasured landmark, that's for sure. The prison is a little different than the others, as it was surrounded by acres of land, and the prisoners would farm their food. This place was known for being overcrowded and having war criminals and people who were either wrongfully imprisoned or imprisoned for minor crimes. After many moons of being shut down and abandoned, eventually this place became a bit of an urban exploration adventure, as people thought it to be haunted, and even ghost hunters would often visit it. But honestly, just looking at the pictures of it, it's just so worn out and it reeks of low vibes that it looks like it would attract ghosts. You are prohibited from visiting this place, so don't even think about it. I am your YouTube mother. Nah, I'm too young. I am your YouTube older sister, and I encourage you to make good choices and not go. Okay? In our number 8 spot, we have the Old Salem Jail. The Old Salem Jail is located, of course, in Salem, Massachusetts. Home of the Hocus Pocus witches, of course. And yes, the town is known for, oh, just a little old thing as, you know, the Salem witch trials. Ever heard of it? Well, if you haven't, Google it. It was quite the historical American event. That town attracts, you know, just the creepiest things. And so it wouldn't be surprising to hear about a jail that was known to be haunted. This jail apparently had stories from it that sounded too gory to be true that people didn't even want to tell them. It closed in 1991, and after being abandoned for a few decades, eventually a hotel brand bought it and turned it into luxury apartment flats. But apparently it doesn't matter how beautiful they make it look, the ghosts from the jail are still around there and people can still hear their cries. One of these days I'm gonna have to visit these prisons in the hopes that I'll be able to hear these supernatural cries. Not that I like people crying, but I want to hear a ghost. You know you want to too. In our number 7 spot, we have the Holmesburg Prison. This prison has to be the worst abandoned prison in the world. I'm serious when I say that the fact that this existed and such inhumane practices were afoot makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest. The prison is located in Pennsylvania, USA, and it was active from 1896 to 1995. The fact that this prison was still open when I was a kid makes me the most uncomfortable. I think our ability to be compassionate has tripled in the last 25 years. Anyways, this is a jail where the prisoners were essentially boiled alive. I'm not joking. The prison was built out of stone and it had large steam radiators, and the wardens would make the temperature go up to 200 degrees, and some of the prisoners would literally die from the heat. To arguably make it worse, the prisoners eventually became testing subjects for biochemical, pharmaceutical, and dermatological weapons. So yeah, it totally makes sense to hear that people believe it to be deeply haunted. I bet. This is one of the darkest prisons by far. In our number 6 spot, we have the Ararat County Jail. In Ararat, Victoria in Australia, there was once a very known jail, the Ararat County Jail, that is now known for its shrieking cries, specifically from an area of the jail called the J Ward. The jail opened in 1861 and was originally intended as a Goldfields prison, but in the 1880s it was turned into a maximum security psychiatric facility for the criminally insane. Not only do people say they still hear the shrieking cries believed to be from the prisoners, but also moans and rapid footsteps are often heard. Apparently when they are heard, it's hard to know that they aren't real, as the footsteps sound so real and human-like. In our number 5 spot, we have the Wyoming Territorial Prison. This prison was built in 1872 and was made to confine the growing number of criminals in the area. But not all went exactly according to plan. People kept escaping. This is wild to me. I didn't realize that any prison had a genuine problem with this. I thought when people escaped it was like a one-off thing. Anyways, yep, people would escape, and they had a bit of an overcrowding issue as well. A famous name from the prison though is a man named Julius Greenwald, who was sentenced for taking the life of his wife. He apparently had a quote-unquote expert hand when it came to rolling cigars, and boy would he smoke a lot of them. Apparently Julius's cigar scent can still be smelt at the prison in the place where he died in 1901. Passing away in 1901 from heart failure, Julius's ghost still lingers about in the place he died. It is said that you can also smell the cigar scent in the corridors leading to where he died. Interesting. Well, smoke and cigar/cigarette scents do tend to linger, so it makes sense. In our number 4 spot, we have the Carabanchel Prison. The Carabanchel Prison, located in Madrid, Spain, was originally constructed by political prisoners after the Spanish Civil War between 1940 to 1944. It was known as one of the biggest prisons in Europe until it was closed down in 1998. The prisoners were made to do slave labor when it was active, and after it was closed, it became known as an abandoned haunted building. In 2008, the Spanish government decided that it needed to be destroyed because no one should go onto the grounds. Probs because it was that haunted, but most likely because it was just a sad part of their history that they want to forget. Apparently a hospital and apartments are now in the area, and it hasn't been confirmed if people ever feel any paranormal activity, but we're gonna say probably. In our number 3 spot, we have the William Porter Reformatory. The William Porter Reformatory is located in Tokaji, South Africa. This is a bit of a disturbing prison because it was not exactly for adults. Most of the prisoners were actually quite young, which honestly makes me ill to think about. They were kept in isolation cells, and for what purpose? Oh, just a racially driven one. To further the separation between the black and white working class community, and to teach the prisoners to not interact and to socially know their place. Thankfully, this horrific place was closed down in 1910, but of course the energy and sadness must still surround the building. Seeing the pictures of this place honestly breaks my heart and makes me the most sad. In our number 2 spot, we have the Old Charleston Jail. The Old Charleston Jail is a jail that was built in 1802 in South Carolina, USA. This is an abandoned place that you may actually want to visit if you're someone who's very into supernatural phenomena, as this is a place that is known for its ghostly encounters. Ooh, yeah, I want to go. This jail was actually home to a very notable prisoner, Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia and her husband, John Fisher, were owners of a Charleston inn called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House, and they were sent to prison as apparently they were luring businessmen into their inn and then killing them and stealing their belongings. They say that her ghost is haunting this jail, and reports of many supernatural noises, smells, and sightings have occurred there. So maybe you don't want to visit this place. Something about this woman's story makes me think she's the type of ghost to want to possess you. But I have a very active imagination, so who knows. If I ever visit, I'ma go straight to a priest and get an exorcism afterwards. That's what I would do. And finally, in our number 1 spot, we have the Moundsville, West Virginia Penitentiary. Yes, of course, I have to have this one on the list. This place is one of the most known prisons of all time.
The West Virginia Penitentiary is located, of course, in the state of Virginia, USA, and it is most known for its brutal punishments. It was active from 1876 to 1995, and during that time the prisoners experienced beatings so bad that some passed away from them. They also experienced electrocution, and yes, they also practiced hanging the prisoners for a very long time as well. The prison was also known for having many escapees and causing riots. The violence and the inhumane practices were inevitably what led to it being shut down. Many people believe the prison to be extremely haunted, so it is not advised to go and visit if you are fearful of seeing a ghost.
Number 10. The Hollywood Sign, California. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I bring up the Hollywood Sign. Now, you might be confused, it's a huge tourist attraction. Yes, it is, but there are areas around the sign that are prohibited. The closest you can get to the sign is behind and above it, where you can enjoy the fabulous view of the city. Why can't you get up right and personal though? Well, the sign is on a rough, steep terrain, so there are barriers to prevent unauthorized access. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Police Department actually installed a security system featuring motion detention and closed-circuited cameras. Any movement in the marked restricted areas triggers an alarm that notifies the police, therefore you cannot touch the sign. This place is heavily surveilled as it's monitored 24/7 by the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments and park rangers. Although some people have gotten through security to vandalize the sign. I mean, does anyone remember Hollyweed on January 1st, 2017? Despite that though, it remains mostly prohibited. Number 9. Roberts Island, Suffolk County, New York. Located just off of Long Island, this private island is not only extremely valuable, it's impossible to access. The 435-acre teardrop of land belongs to billionaire businessman Louis Bacon and is thought to be worth around $500 million. He purchased it in 1993 at the bankruptcy court auction for $11 million. He has made significant investments into restoring the neglected island, going so far as to import full-grown oak trees to replace ones harvested for lumber years later. Some non-native grasses were removed from the island and replaced, and hunters reduced an overgrown deer population. The island also has the healthiest turtle population in the state, which includes the eastern mud turtle. Lewis has spent years rebuilding the ecosystem, and he believes that allowing others on the island will lead to its destruction, so no one can visit. And I mean, that is a pretty good reason, no? Number 8. Lascaux Caves, France. Lascaux Caves is a network of caves near the village of Montigny. Over 600 wall paintings cover the interior walls and ceilings of the cave. The paintings represent primarily large animals, typical local contemporary fauna that correspond with the fossil record of the Upper Paleolithic in the area. They are the combined effort of many generations, and with continued debate, the age of the paintings is now usually estimated at around 17,000 years. They're beautiful, but unfortunately the cave was sealed to the common public following 1963 in order to preserve the site, which is listed as a World Heritage Site by the UNESCO. However, in order to allow everyone to admire the masterpieces of prehistory, a reconstruction of the Lato site has been made so you can do a virtual tour, which is still pretty cool. Archaeologists concluded that human proximity might ruin the ancient work of art, so you can only enjoy it through your screen. Number 7. The Whites Club, UK. Okay, so men can enter this place, but women can't. And if you're non-binary, I don't really know what to tell you. At White's, the club is so exclusive that few have ever managed to sneak inside and find out what really goes on in there. There are, incredibly, certain places in the world where women are forbidden access, the best known probably being gentlemen's clubs, which are very popular within British culture. Founded in 1693 and located at 37 St. James Street in Piccadilly, the members of the Whites Club include political leaders, senior bankers, and even heirs to the British throne, so yeah, Prince William is a part of this club. The restriction on women is so strict, only the late Queen Elizabeth has ever managed to gain entry, but I mean, she was the queen, it's not like they could have said no. According to The Telegraph in 2013, David Cameron voluntarily left the select club, saying, "I'm dismayed the club does not accept women as members. I find that inexplicable in this day and age, I really do." The members of London's oldest and most elitist gentlemen's club has shrunk to 500, and its bar has been open for over 200 years. Number 6. Doomsday Vault, Norway. The Doomsday Vault is a seed bank located in the middle of the Arctic Svalbard archipelago. Shinto. There are 3 vaults leading off from the chamber, but only one is currently in use, and its door is covered in a thick layer of ice, hinting at the sub-zero temperatures inside. In here, the seeds are stored in vacuum-packed silver packets and test tubes in large boxes that are neatly stacked on floor-to-ceiling shelves. These boxes potentially hold the keys to the future of global food security. These seeds are here in case of a catastrophic event. Now, over the past 50 years, agricultural practices have changed dramatically, but while crop yields have increased, biodiversity has decreased to the point that now only about 30 crops provide 95% of human food energy needs. The US has lost over 90% of its fruit and vegetable varieties since the 1900s. This monoculture nature of agriculture leaves food supplies more susceptible to threats such as diseases and drought. Due to all this, the vault isn't open to the public, and it can allow entry to special guests, but only on certain days. Number 5. Isle Grand Shrine, Japan. Japan is known worldwide for its shrine culture and has nearly 80,000 shrines in total. The most prominent out of all is the Isle Grand Shrine. It's one of the most expensive temples in Japan, credited to its architectural magnificence. To keep the Shinto traditions, which go back to the 8th century, this temple is reconstructed once every 20 years. That's why this temple is so expensive. Only members of the royal family are granted access to this prestigious ancient representation sacred to the Japanese. Due to this, the general public is not allowed beyond the sight of the thatched roofs of the central structures hidden behind 4 tall wooden fences. Number 4. North Brother Island. North Brother Island is a small island located in New York City's East River between the mainland Bronx and Rikers Island. Now, not only is this island forbidden, it's also hidden, overrun by weeds, and unsafe for the public. Plus, its sensitive ecosystem is much safer without visitors. This dystopian-looking island was abandoned 50 years ago, but prior to that, in the mid-19th century, North Brother Island was filled with people. At this time in history, disease and illness were rampant in New York, and this isolated island was the perfect location for the sick to be quarantined. Riverside Hospital was relocated there and had been founded in the 1850s as the smallpox hospital to treat and isolate victims of that disease. Its mission eventually expanded to other quarantinable diseases. Now, the island was also the site of a wreck of the General Slocum, a steamship that burned in 1904, where 1,021 people died either from fire on board the ship or from drowning before the ship beached on the island shores. Safe to say, this island has seen a lot of horrors, so much that it has been nicknamed Hell's Gate for its dangerous waters and is rightfully off limits. Number 3. Surtsey Island, Iceland. Surtsey is a small island situated on the south coast of Iceland. It was created as a consequence of a volcanic explosion that continued for 4 years. Surtsey is also known globally for being the newest island on the globe. It was formed just 55 years ago, which meant scientists had the unique opportunity to observe the birth and evolution of an ecosystem from scratch. This fascinating event is precisely what makes its access restricted to the rest of the world. It all began in 1963 when a violent volcanic eruption 32 kilometers south of Iceland resulted in the formation of Surtsey. Bacteria, fungi, and molds were the first to arrive on the island. Subsequently, the number of animal and plant species increased exponentially. According to UNESCO, it's estimated that around 89 species of birds and 335 invertebrates populate the area. In order to not alter this development, only researchers are allowed to visit the island, which again makes a lot of sense. They want to protect this island, but the whole idea of this is just really cool. Number 2. Snake Island, Brazil. As per the name, Snake Island is an island in Brazil packed with thousands of poisonous snakes. Yep, just load it up all in there. No human even dares to risk their life stepping on Snake Island, and if you were to try, you'd be stupid. Snake Island has a reputation as the most forbidden place in the world, not only in Brazil. This place is so deadly that the government has announced it's prohibited by law to step onto the island. It's calculated that there are nearly 4,000 golden laceheads crawling around the island. These are the most poisonous serpents known on Earth. So even if you were able to go on the island, you'd probably get bitten by a snake and die, which I feel like isn't worth it. I know I wouldn't risk it. And I mean, if a snake doesn't hurt you, the government will, as it's illegal to go there, so neither of those sounds like a good option. Plus, who wants to go to a place called Snake Island? Please, stay away from there. And coming in at number 1, North Sentinel Island, India. North Sentinel Island is one of the most forbidden places in the world. It is where the Sentinelese tribe resides. The people occupying the island usually resolve to violence to keep their isolation still ongoing. The Sentinelese tribe have existed on the island for more than 50,000 years as per their protection given by the Indian government. This island is stringently forbidden for any visitors of any kind. Throughout history, encounters with the population have been met with violence. In 2006, they ended the lives of 2 fishermen whose boat had been dragged by the current on their shores. According to The Guardian, a 3-mile restriction zone prevents visitors from entering the territory. And according to Survival, an NGO for the rights of indigenous and tribal peoples, the Indian government has abandoned any plans to contact the Sentinels. The entire tribe could be wiped out by diseases to which they have no immunity, which is why authorities respect their wish to remain uncontacted. Number 10. Morgan Island, aka Monkey Island. Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is located in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Historically, the island has been uninhabited due to its location and distance from the mainland. But in 1979, it was established as a home for a colony of free-range rhesus monkeys, hence the name Monkey Island. Originally, the monkey colony was located at the Caribbean Primate Research Center in La Peguera, Puerto Rico. But according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were incidents of the free-ranging monkeys escaping, carrying viral herpes B infections, which led to outbreaks in the local population. Puerto Rico needed help, and South Carolina stepped in to offer an uninhabited island for research. In 1979 and 1980, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. The monkeys are used for public health research by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The risk they carry with having diseases is the reason why it isn't safe for any human to come in contact with them. It's said that there are more than 3,500 monkeys and that it's such a safety issue that they are fed through an automated machine. Now, some humans have entered the island, only if necessary, and after their visit to the island, they are quarantined to prevent spread of any diseases. Number 9. ADX Florence, Colorado. ADX Florence is an American federal prison near Florence, Colorado. So yes, humans can be there, but just hear me out. It's operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It opened in 1994 and is classed as a supermax or control unit prison, referring to its extremely high levels of security, as it has a more controlled level of custody than a maximum security prison. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners most capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. As of August 2022, there were a total of 341 inmates housed. They are confined for 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities made of poured reinforced concrete to deter self-harm and are under 24-hour supervision, carried out intensely with high staff-inmate ratios. Now, during their hour outside the cell, which can occur at any time, day or night, they are kept under restraint, handcuffed, shackled, or both. The hour outside the cell is for exercise and a phone call if they have earned the privilege. Their diet is restricted to ensure that the food cannot be used to harm themselves or create unhygienic conditions in their cell. Some cells even have showers, which further reduces the amount of handling of inmates that correctional officers have to perform. In fact, it's such a secure facility that very few images of it exist. Now, the prisoners are allowed visitors, but only up to 5 times a month, and these visitations can be taken away. Number 8. Hart Island, New York. Hart Island is located in the Bronx, New York, and is a 1-mile-long strip of land in the Long Island Sound that has served many functions over the centuries. The island's first public use was a training ground for the United States Colored Troops in 1864. Since then, Hart Island has been the location of a Union Civil War prison camp, a psychiatric institution, a tuberculosis sanatorium, a potter's field with mass burials, a homeless shelter, a boys' women's reformatory, a jail, a drug rehabilitation center, and a cemetery. Today, you can go to the island, but it's very difficult. Hart Island is only open one weekend each month for families to visit grave sites, and that is all. Besides, with all the dark history, I don't think anyone would want to go there if they could. Number 7. North Brother Island. North Brother Island is a small island located in New York City, East River, between the mainland Bronx and Rikers Island. Now, not only is this island forbidden, it's also hidden, overrun by weeds, and unsafe for the public, plus its sensitive ecosystem is much safer without visitors. This dystopian-looking island was abandoned 50 years ago, but prior to that, in the mid-19th century, North Brother Island was filled with people. At this time in history, disease and illnesses were rampant in New York, and this isolated island was a perfect location for the sick to be quarantined. In the mid-1880s, the Riverside Hospital moved there from Blackwell's Island, now known as Roosevelt Island. Riverside Hospital had been founded in the 1850s as the smallpox hospital to treat and isolate victims of that disease. Its mission eventually expanded to other quarantinable diseases, initially typhoid and then smallpox and tuberculosis. During the polio epidemic in 1916, Riverside treated numerous patients. The island was also the site of the wreck of the General Slocum, a steamship that burned on June 15, 1904, where 1,021 people died either from the fire on board the ship or from drowning before the ship beached on the island shores. Safe to say this island has seen a lot of horrors, so much that it has been nicknamed Hell's Gate for its dangerous waters and is rightfully off limits. Now, if some place is called Hell's Gate, I would not want to go there anyway, and you shouldn't either. Number 6. Mount Weather. If the world is ending, I want to go here. Mount Weather is a facility located in Bluemont, Virginia that is controlled by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This facility, used to support emergency management operations, is located on a 434-acre site and is run by 240 employees. Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center has important communication links with the White House and reportedly includes an underground bunker with its own hospital, crematorium, and emergency power plant. Today, Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operation facilities and remains off limits to civilians. It's considered the safest spot in the world, and in the event of a nuclear war or zombie apocalypse, US government officials will be gathered and sent there. It was built during the Cold War, and this facility is designed to protect people and national treasures from the event of global destruction. Number 5. Dulce Base. Rumors of a top-secret US military base in New Mexico have been swirling for years now. You'd think Dulce, New Mexico would be just another small southwest town in America, but think again. This town, which doesn't even have traffic lights, is known for the subterranean experimental facility below the ground of Dulce's Archuleta Mesa on the Colorado's New Mexico border near the town Dulce, New Mexico. Claims of alien activity there first arose from Albuquerque businessman Paul Benowitz. Starting in 1979, Paul became convinced that he was intercepting electronic communications from alien spacecraft and installations outside of Albuquerque. By the 1980s, he believed he had discovered a secret underground base near Dulce, populated by gray aliens and humans. In 1983, Paul's claims spread rapidly within the UFO community, and by 1987, ufologist John Lear claimed he had independent confirmations of the base's existence. Those who believe in the supposed underground alien base state that a 7-story compound exists beneath Dulce, which houses top secret, extremely advanced technologies, and even human-animal hybrids. Now, whether this is true or not, you cannot go to Dulce Base, but personally, I would love to get down to the bottom of it and find out if there are actually aliens there. Number 4. Granite Mountain Secret Vault. Granite Mountain Secret Vault is located in Salt Lake City in Utah. The Secret Vault is the world's largest compilation of genealogical records ever to exist. Now, if you're familiar with Mormons, you probably know that they're also renowned genealogists and have collected and cataloged documents and records on almost every family in the United States. The process all began with the efforts of LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who began their collection and needed an ultra-secure location for their fast-growing archive catalog. This led them to blasting a cavern into the side of a mountain known as Little Cottonwood Canyon, and now holds hundreds of thousands of genealogical records 700 feet beneath the earth. There's also maximum security to ensure these sensitive documents are never revealed to the public or curious tourists. So even if you want to learn about your own family, it seems like you're out of luck. Number 3. Area 51. Area 51 in Nevada is the common name of a highly classified United States Air Force USAF facility within Nevada Test and Training Range. Details of its operations are not made public, but the USAF says that it's an open training range and it's commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapon systems. The USAF and CIA acquired the site in 1955 primarily for flight testing the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. The intense secrecy surrounding the base has sparked many conspiracy theories. Now, it has never been declared a secret base, but all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret / sensitive compartment information. The CIA publicly acknowledged the base's existence on June 25, 2013, following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005 and declassified documents detailing its history and purpose. The United States government has provided minimal information regarding Area 51. The area surrounding the lake is permanently off limits to both civilian and normal military air traffic, and security clearances are checked regularly. Cameras and weaponry are not allowed. What truly goes on there? No one knows, and no one ever will. Number 2. Fort Knox. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky. As the Army's Human Resource Center of Excellence, Fort Knox is now positioned to continue its central role in the front ranks of military installations in the United States, recruiting, training, and supporting warfighters in the challenges of the 21st century. The Human Resource Center of Excellence is responsible for all soldier career management, from swearing in to departing service. Its units include Sections Command, Human Resource Command, Army Recruiting Command, and Army Cadet Command. Fort Knox has a daytime population of over 26,000 soldiers, family members, and civilian employees. Units located on Fort Knox are considered partners in excellence and include active duty Army organizations, Army Reserve, National Guard, and the U.S. Marine Corps. This well-fortified military base is one place that's impossible to enter. It has defenses such as minefields, barbed wire, electric fences, armed guards, and cameras. It's only ever been opened once, back in 1974, and that was for the news media and Congress. And coming up at number 1 is Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Cheyenne Mountain Complex is located in Colorado, 9,565 feet above sea level. This massive mountain is also home to the nation's most secure and fortified military installation and 15 building complexes which alert officials concerning anything to do with ongoing threats of attack. Formerly the Center for the United States Space Command and NORAD, the complex monitored the airspace of Canada and the United States for missiles, space systems, and foreign aircraft through its worldwide early warning system. For employees of the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, it's no ordinary work environment where you can simply walk into your office like a normal person. Oh no. Workers must take a bus to their designated zone, some of them even 2,000 feet below the ground. Nicknamed America's Fortress for a reason, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex is the ultimate bunker built into the pure granite of the mountain and can withstand just about any type of external threat.